So what's the difference? Why is it so more expensive for, say, her to do it than Rascals to do it? That's a mobile unit.
I don't know. I think they got a racket going on.
Well,
I myself think the prices are too high.
Well, Rascals is charging me $40 if it's a female, $20 if it's a male. No problem with that. To take her to my vet and up out in there, Berkskis,
120.
South Great,
Yeah.
220.
Oh, 220.
Yeah, $220.
The veterinarian at South Point, I assume that's where you went,
Right.
was a former student of mine.
Oh,
And
really?
he was a large animal veterinarian.
Okay.
So you should say when you see him, I talked to Dr. Sanders and he told me a story about you and I can't believe you did that.
You'll probably walk out of the room fast.
There's no story, but.
Oh, but he'll wonder what you said.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
and he started out doing almost exclusively with large animals. Now, you see, if you're a large animal vet, you don't have a referral clinic at night emergencies and that sort of thing. You can send them to somebody else.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
There are not. And so a practice that does large animals, they've got to make provisions for somebody being on call at night. Whereas in small animals, they have these emergency clinics, but that's when they're open, is at
Right.
night. But they get incredible fees.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Well,
I don't down the road.
I don't belittle the fact that they get incredible fees, it's just
I didn't say credible, I said incredible.
incredible. Well, that's what,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. So we're gonna add a little more light here. And so everybody can see your face, your smiling faces.
I know when the horses, they have horses at the farm, and they had one of their horses go down. They had to call Johnson's, down the road from Johnson's vet, and they had to come and they actually the bulldozer to look that horse up there. The ones that are real pretty,
Yeah,
so not the Clogsdale, the Clydesdale, but the other one.
yeah.
And that's not the area then. So they take a bulldozer to,
Right.
and lightning struck it. And I was surprised, I thought the lightning was going for me, but it got the horse instead.
Well, you had a story about a guy that had a cow that got struck by lightning, but only had been 4 or 5 months since
Yeah.
it'd been struck by lightning.
Well, I had an old guy, he's in his 80s, and he didn't use our service for years because we were too expensive
Uh-huh.
in his mind. And when we need to start, we'll start. I don't have.
Yeah, we can go ahead. So today we're doing something a little different. And these two, this is, want to introduce yourself?
I'm Charles Hendricks.
I'm Waddell Hendricks.
And this is Doc Sanders. You guys know Doc Sanders. So anyway, we're going to talk about Animal Science Merit Badge. And these guys have to answer some questions. And so first of all, let's talk about the artificial insemination. How does that work? You guys watched that, remember?
Yeah.
Okay. So I know it's a little embarrassing, but let's go ahead and talk about it.
Basically, artificial insemination is where the semen is collected from the male animal and perhaps looked at under the microscope and that sort of thing. And in the case of bulls, let's talk about that because that's a tremendous industry. One ejaculate from a bull usually can breed 300 to 340 cows, get 340 cows pregnant. And so there's a tremendous industry. And to give you an idea, this is off the subject, but the largest dollar volume exporter from Ohio in the country, and it isn't Worthington Steel or anything like that, or anybody like that. And it isn't any of the computer places, whatever. It's Select Sires, and they ship bull semen all over the world to breed cows. I literally have been in the remote region of China and talking to the manager, a 10,000 cow herd, and talking to the manager, and there on the wall was his calendar from Select Sires, and they freeze the semen in liquid nitrogen, and sitting below that was the tank that had all this semen stored in it. And I think he might have had 2 or 3 tanks by how many cows he had. So that's part of the issue with artificial insemination. And all of this semen, when they collect semen on a bull, is evaluated to make sure that it has an adequate number of sperm in it to get a cow pregnant. And it generally takes 20 million sperm per dose on a cow. So if we're doing 300 cows or 350 cows, think about how much sperm is in that he ejaculates, the bull ejaculated at one time, to be able to dilute it out that much and still breed that many cows. So that's the thing. So the process is that cows, after they've had their last calf, or it's a heifer.
And what's a heifer, Doc?
A heifer is a young cow that's never had a calf, and they're called heifers until they calve the first time, and sometimes they even then call them first calf heifer. They are bred usually when they're 13 or 14 months old. The gestation period on a cow, does anybody know how long? You know what gestation is? The pregnancy. How long the pregnancy, and they call it the gestation period. So how long is the pregnancy on a cow? It's roughly 9 months. It's 275 days in the Holsteins, and if it's Brown Swiss, it's 284. Every breed is a little different. Jerseys are 270.
So that's why the Holsteins are kind of popular, because they can have a few more calves than.
Well, that isn't the primary issue. The primary issue is their high production, high milk production.
Oh, okay. So that's completely different than
Yes.
than swine.
Yeah. And so the artificial insemination, then they can take these high genetic merit bulls that have been proven to father calves that are going to be extraordinary. And to give you an idea, there's 2 bulls that are long dead and gone, is Round Oak, Ragapple, Elevation. And Elevation has, last count I heard was 87,000 daughters in this country. 87,000. And the other one was Pawnee Farm or Linda Chief, and he had a similar number of calves that were born from him when they did that. And so the thing is, now we're into genetic evaluations. We're looking at DNA and all that sort of thing. And so they, when calves are 3 or 4 months old or younger, they're evaluating their genetic merit, their DNA, as far as what they are. And the top 40%, and by the way, today, if you're a dairy farmer, you can order cows that all produce all heifer semen, or in other words, girl semen, female semen, or you can order semen that they will have almost all bull calves, male calves. You can order it either way. You can get one or the other if you want to. And so the thing is, now they're doing these DNA tests that they can determine how good their genetics is. And so you walk into a 1,000 cow herd or something like that, and they will, there are cows that leave the herd every year because of injuries, because of infections or whatever, that they're never going to get better on, or they're no longer producing adequate milk for profitability. And so they've got cows like that, and then they've got these cows that are high genetic merit, where they know they're going to produce superior heifer calves. And so those all get bred to female sex semen, the upper 40%, and then the 60%, another 40% would be better to talk about, is bred to beef bulls that like Angus and that make steaks. That's where steaks come from. And the thing is, they breed the next 40% after that high genetic Marylands to Angus beef bulls, and they'll deliver those calves. And there's a real premium for calves that are half Angus, half Holstein. And so those calves are then sold to feedlots in the beef market, who then raise them up to a 1,200 pound or whatever, and they end up going to a processing plant and they harvest the steaks and various things like and hamburger and so forth, like from them. So it's divided, and only 40% of the cows have been bred to high genetic merit bulls, as far as milk production, that sort of thing. And the rest of them gets the beef bulls, because they're going to sell those calves for the food market, the steaks and so forth. And the other bottom 20%, well, I can tell you that every year about a third of the cows have to leave the herd because of injuries, infections, didn't perform well, or they had a problem that now they've got chronic pneumonia, or any number of things like that. So the bottom 20 to 30% is going to leave the herd on any given year.
What do you think about that?
Very interesting.
Yep, it's a complex. So Doc, we talked about how big some of these dairy herds are, and you've seen dairy herds that have been upwards of what, 80,000 cows?
I was not in a herd of 80,000, but there is one in Oregon that's that big. But I've been in a 47,000 cow herd in China, and that is way bigger. Normally, herds used to be in 1970, if you had a 50 cow herd and the family, that's the father and kids and wife, took care of them, and they produced milk and it was picked up every day and this sort of thing. Then things kind of changed and the herds got bigger to 200 to 400 cows. And today, the herds that are profitable generally are milking more than 1,000 cows. They've gotten bigger, and 5,000 and 10,000 is a pretty common thing to have. As a matter of fact, we've got 10,000. We've got actually a 10,000 cow herd at Alger, Ohio. Does anybody know where that's at? That's between Lima and Kenton.
I was going to say it's north of here. I don't know that I've been by it, but I've seen signs for it.
Yeah. So, and they have a 10,000 cow herd, and they're doing exactly what I just described. They are identifying the top animals and breeding them to the best genetics they can purchase in semen, and then everything else gets bred to Angus.
So these guys watched, and when we were out visiting Todd's herd, I know he had done some artificial insemination there, but you guys, he didn't have any candidates for that then. So how does the mechanics of that work, Doc?
First, let me tell you about the operation that you were to. That operation was typically the way they did it in 1960. Things have changed in the last 100 years extensively to what that is. And yet he has a special niche market, and people like to know that cows are being cared for as they were years ago. And a number of his cows have genetically been identified as A2 cows, which means that people with allergies to milk, to lactose, can drink that milk and generally don't get sick by drinking milk from cows with A2 genetics.
But his specialty is he is farm to market.
That's right.
He doesn't have a middleman. His milk does not go to Kroger's or anywhere else.
Right.
He sells his milk directly to the consumer.
And to give you an idea, milk today, the farmer gets about $1.50 a gallon for it. And the rest of it, now you go to Kroger's and you pay $3.25 or $3.50 or whatever. the rest of it goes to the processors, and the marketing people, and all the things that go with that,
Transportation.
transportation costs and so forth.
So how do the mechanics work of the artificial insemination?
Well,
Can you
the,
guys explain it? You're supposed to.
So you have to wear gloves so you don't get anything unwanted on your hand. And they have this very long needle. First, you have to sanitize the cow. I think it was called a gun. And
it is, it is, it's a semen gun, or, and it's stainless steel, and it's about that long. Okay, and in that, they put a slender cylinder of thawed semen. They've thawed it out, and which is 1/10 of a milliliter of semen, and they put that in the end of that gun, and then a technician with a long sleeve on reaches in and identifies where the cervix of the cow is and that sort of thing. And it's when you got your hand in the rectum, the cervix is right below it. And so they identify where that cervix is, and then they generally wipe off the vulva, or in other words, the female structures, and then they take that straw, they call it a straw gun, because they call these little slender containers of semen that are no bigger than the cartridge in this pin. And they put that in the gun. They've thought it's in the gun, and with this hand, they've identified the cervix, and they've cleaned off the vulva area and that sort of thing, and thread that semen gun up into the cervix, and then gently push a plunger, and it forces the semen out of the straw into the uterus of the cow.
And then then not too long after that, you have zygotes and then pregnancy.
Yes, yeah. It generally at 16 days, you're going to have what's called a blastocele, which means an 8 or 16 cell development, which is a calf developing. It starts with 2, 4, 8, 16 cells as it develops in there.
So you guys watch this online, okay? And this is what farmers have to do in order to, that's for dairy cows, how they breed dairy cows. And it's different for other animals.
Well, for beef cows, some farmers have realized there's real profitability if they use artificial insemination on beef. There's a lot of them that don't. They just put the bull out and let him deal with it. Well, the fact is that if they do it with artificial insemination, and they'll synchronize the cows so that they all have a cycle at about the same time, and they will then artificially inseminate them all, and generally 50 or 60% of them will get pregnant on that first insemination. Well, after they went out of heat, and how long is a cow in heat? Does anybody know?
Maybe 3 weeks.
It's a little bit, a dog will do that. A dog is 3 weeks, but a cow, it's a little bit variable, but it can be anywhere from 6 to 18 hours.
Not a big window.
Not a big one. Most of them is around 10 or 12 hours. It's how long they're in heat and receptive to a bull. And so you have to get there when they're in heat and put the semen in. And then from there, they watch, and if she comes back in heat, that means it didn't, I'm talking about 21 days later. They have a cycle every 21 days. That means that she didn't get pregnant with the artificial insemination. and they generally have a bull out they put with the cow, and they call that a cleanup bull, meaning he they breed the stragglers that didn't get through on the first go around.
So, and that's pretty predominant now throughout the world, isn't it?
Yes, it
As
is.
you said, you were in China and you saw that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've seen it in Mongolia too. But I've been in 14 countries, and I've seen that sort of stuff done lots of times. And I actually ended up with kind of an international practice, which I've been in 11 countries.
You're an expert in that regard. As a
Well,
board
I'm board
veterinarian
certified.
Yep.
Uh,
and thermostetologist.
yes, and to give you an idea, there's about 500 of us worldwide. So
So you're getting it straight from the cow's mouth, right? It's a never mind. It's a colloquialism. So, okay, so explain to Doc what you guys know about how a cow digests its food.
That's a great question.
Huh?
That's a great question.
With two diagrams.
So the cows are the ruminants, and their stomachs have like 4 different parts.
Very good. You're absolutely right. Go ahead.
The rumen is the first part of the stomach, and there's a lot of bacteria in it.
Protozoa, bacteria, fungi, whole bunch of different things. Go ahead.
And then the cow will chew up its food again, the cud. And once it's small enough to fit through a small gap, it'll go into the reticulum.
That's right. That's also called the hardware stomach. Do you know why that is? It is more like a honeycomb, and it's not very big, but the idea of it is that Mother Nature is trying to protect the cow, that if she inadvertently swallows some metal, that honeycomb will trap it so that it doesn't penetrate through the body wall, and cause serious illness for the cow. And so, in the rumen part that you guys talk about, this big fermentation vat, where they eat as fast as they can, then they go lay down and they chew their cud. They cough up the food that they ate, re-chew it, and it happens that their saliva has a very high pH, and it buffers the pH to improve fermentation and digestion. And so every bit of food they eat, with the exception of maybe some grain or something like that, but normally today it's all blended together. They eat it, they swallow it, they cough it up and chew it some more, and creates a lot of saliva with it that has a high pH, which buffers the whole system. And then it passes down through the reticulum, that hardware stomach, if you will, that traps any pieces of metal. And the next stomach is omasum. And that's a water absorption device. Not much food goes through it. It's kind of off to the side, but it absorbs water. And then the water, and then the food passes down to the 4th compartment of the stomach, which is
Abomasum.
abomasum. That's absolutely right. It's and that stomach is like your stomach and my stomach. It's got hydrochloric acid in it and all kinds of acids to break down a lot of that cellulose and this sort of thing. And then it passes from the abomasum to
The small intestine.
the small intestine. And there's a lot more digestion that occurs there. And there's a number of things that the small intestine does as far as absorption and different things like that, and breaking the products down for the cow to utilize. And that's what's unique about ruminants, or specifically we're talking about cows, is that they can eat things that we can't digest and your dog can't digest, pigs can't digest, because we're all monogastric. We got one stomach. And by having four stomachs like that, they can break all this stuff down and utilize substances that would just go to waste because we can't eat them and digest them, and specifically grass.
Do you guys know examples of any other ruminants? Can you name any examples of any other ruminants?
Horse. ruminants?
No, I'm glad you put a question mark behind that because it's not a horse. A horse is not a ruminant. However, the horse has a special area of intestine called the cecum that they can digest grass. But they don't chew their cud. They don't do any of that kind of stuff that a cow does. But because of that cecum, and the cecum's usually about this long and about that big around, all of the stuff goes through there. All the forages go through there, and that's where digestion of forages happens, is in the cecum of the mare. Now, do we have an organ like a cecum in a horse? We do.
The colon?
It's our appendix. That's the equivalent. Now, our appendix in people is a remnant in that it doesn't do anything now. It's just there, and it's usually about that long, and it's as big as my little finger. But in prehistoric times, we developed from animals that had a cecum and could digest forages and cellulose and things like that. But we don't do that anymore. If you eat lettuce, it's basically going to go right on through you after you get some water absorption and stuff like that out of it.
So I'll give you a couple of hints. They used to run around in the Great Plains by the millions. And right now, we have them all over central Ohio, probably in your backyard, eating your plants and walking around. They're wild, and they're brown, and they have a slick coat. They develop antlers. So do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, deer are a ruminant too.
Yeah.
So, and there's great big deer out in Colorado. And they used to be around here.
Elk, and that's
Moose and elk and bison. Bison are ruminants also.
Yeah.
And water buffaloes.
Yeah. And so the thing is, the buffaloes have a digestive tract just like a cow. Okay. But the deer has a different one in the sense that they have the rumen and that sort of thing, but they're only 3 stomachs. They do not have 4 stomachs like cows do.
So if you ever, for some reason, you decide you want to hunt deer and you have to clean the animal, then your physiology is a little bit different. And you always want to be careful, try not to nick the peritoneum. So it's a little cleaner
Yeah,
if you don't nick the peritoneum.
that's the membrane around the abdomen, that sort of thing. And if you nick it, that's not such a big deal. But if you nick what's under it, it makes a mess out of what you're trying to harvest.
You want to keep that clean. So
Yeah.
anyway, can you guys name 4 types of cows? 4 types of breeds, 4 breeds of cows?
4 breeds.
I think we have an Angus,
Okay.
a Jersey.
Good job.
Yeah, you got them in your notes. This is an open book test.
You need to just on the back pages, sweetie.
We have the Hereford
Hereford.
and the Paul Hereford.
Polled Hereford.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there's probably 25 breeds.
But you only have to name 4.
Yeah. And if we're talking about dairy, it's Holstein, Jerseys, Brown Swiss, Ayrshire, and again, Guernseys. That's the 5 breeds of dairy cows.
So he has just to name the different types of cows. He didn't have to
Yes,
name
right.
dairy cows
Right.
specifically. So, okay, so can you guys remember what kind of diseases they're up against in terms of farmers? What kind of things they have to be careful of?
Blackleg. That's what it's called. I don't know a description of it, but their leg gets weak. I'll check the notes again.
You guys want to look at your notes real quick here before we wrap that up?
Well, we're doing that. What is a hippo on its stomach? Is it?
It's like a horse.
Okay, it's 3 stomachs? Okay.
Yeah.
That's one.
No, it's not 3 stomachs.
It's
It's
2?
it's got a stomach and it's got a cecum.
Okay.
Do you want me to undo your staple there?
Yeah. It's the one the state.
We're gonna sleep under that, that's okay.
There you go.
Oh, there.
You smell my kitty, don't you? Yeah, I have kitties.
So when I put the diseases, I put both types on the same page. So I know we have blackleg, bloat, Bangs disease, calf skewers, and foot rot.
Okay, it's calf scours. Bang's disease is named after Dr. Bang, and it's actually brucellosis, which has been eradicated in the United States, well, in Ohio. There's still some in Buffalo out in Yellowstone Park. There's still some bangs or brucellosis. If it occurred in the cattle here, the farm would be quarantined generally for about 3 years over that sort of thing. So we don't have that sort of disease anymore. And there's tuberculosis and clostridial infections, which is also called overeating disease because one type of clostridium happens when the cow has consumed too much grain, in essence pigged out, and she gets toxins produced in her rumen because of it.
Lots involved there, isn't there? So what was your favorite part about this merit badge?
Getting to see like how a product that we use every day is like made.
Milk.
Yeah.
And you start from the cow, starts from birth, even before birth, all the way through to put milk on the table, right? Yeah. So what was your least favorite part? What you answer the least favorite part? I think I know.
The artificial insemination.
Made you uncomfortable, huh? Yeah, I get that, but that's part of the reality of animal husbandry or animal science.
Yeah.
So
So
that's the question.
So I'm going to have to head out here.
Okay.
Too.
Well, we're going to talk about one thing real quick. Is Doc's got a book called Beyond the Barn, Dodging the Cow Patties for 50 Years as a Country Vet.
Yeah.
You get that on Amazon, and you get it from your website, vacaresources.com,
Yeah.
And you'll-
Vaca Resource, VACA.
and you'll sign it if you support it through the website. So
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Next thing we're going to work on is backpacking cooking, and we're going to record that, and we'll edit that for future reference for future scouts, so that I don't have to explain it five different times. So, okay. Well, thanks, Doc, for coming.
Uh-huh.
And
See you.
What did they make on that artificial insemination